So, Zuber, I was watching one of your latest episodes, and now you're talking about rate cuts. And so you're talking about a 50 basis point rate cut. And you were, previous to that, you said there wouldn't be any rate cuts. So, what is the big change? Why? And like, what do you see out there? Because I don't know what I'm seeing right now, and I'm lost. So, I want some of your economic 101 here.
So well, first off, thank you for watching. I've been adamant all year that there would be zero rate cuts. I thought the economy was okay. I thought we were growing above trend. I thought the job market was solid. And, I could not see a world where inflation's at or near 3%. The job market is at 4.2%. Stocks are at all-time high. Crypto's at all-time high. I could just see no reason to cut. And now some of you listening to that going, Zuber, all of those things are still true. I disagree. I believe that the job market and inflation are being misrepresented, misunderstood, lied about. And I will say this because I've dug into the details, right? You can't take these economic numbers and not dig a little bit deeper. And the first thing I will say is I am personally not in the camp where I think the government data is purposefully being lied to us. I've been studying economics for 30 years, and whether we like to admit it or not, government data at the point of inflections in the economy is always horrible. And what does that mean? That means when the economy goes from growth to contraction, the data is always wrong. When it goes from contraction to growth, it's always wrong. And I think what we are suffering through is a pretty consequential change in our economy. So again, back to the opening statement. The stock market's still all-time high, crypto's still all-time high, but let's talk jobs first. We got a jobs report 2 weeks ago on Friday that was not horrible. It was catastrophic. It took 2 months numbers down from 150 plus to under 20,000. And in our world, in order just to be even, you got to add 70 to 75,000. On top of that, we had a August reading for July that said 75,000, which again, nobody in their right mind should have any faith in. When the next month comes around, Bo, that number could be negative. And losing jobs in a month is horrific. And then the final thing on the jobs number before I get into inflation that really set me off. And again, I don't change my opinion a lot. If you're on my channel, I don't flip-flop like most people. I've been sticking with my no rate cut call since December of 24 until last Friday, and until the Saturday after when I kind of dug in and go, what the hell just happened? So let's talk about this unemployment rate. Again, you are right to say that, Zuber, why are you talking about a 50 basis point cut when the unemployment rate is 4.2%? Well, again, if you just look at the surface, that's true. But what you are missing is how the number is calculated. There is this thing called the participation rate. And the participation rate has been falling. And that is one of the reasons it's been artificially keeping the unemployment rate low. So I went back in, and I don't remember if I used May numbers. It might have been April's numbers. But I basically flatlined participation. And I said, what if the participation rate did not fall month after month? And we just assumed this number was constant. The unemployment rate today would not be 4.2. It would not be 4.5. It would not be 4.7. It would be 4.9%. So I believe that today's unemployment rate is a hell of a lot closer to 5% than it is to 4.2 because of the junk in the government's numbers. Now, the reason this is important because even the Federal Reserve in their latest dot plot, they thought we would only get as high as 4.4. Again, I just told you it's actually 4.9 and getting worse. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, inflation. We just had our inflation print. And again, a lot of that number is inaccurate, wrong, lagging, misinterpreted, whatever you want to call it. Credit where credit is due. Danielle DiMartino Booth did the math on this one. And again, a lot of people are going to say, Zuber, how can you get a 50 basis point cut when core is up to 3.1? Well, if you actually look at the increase in core this month, 54% of it is shelter. And folks, I'm in the shelter game. There is no chance in hell that shelter is going up 6% year on year. In fact, in most of the country, shelter is negative. So if core is being represented at 3.1% and the increase is 54% because of shelter, that is just completely ass backwards and wrong. In my opinion, we have a horrible job market getting worse, and we have inflation that is not a problem. And you want to go one level deeper? Go to Trueflation. Trueflation takes hundreds, if not thousands, of daily inputs, and they are currently putting inflation below 2%, which is below the Fed's target. So the last thing, and the reason why I think you're getting 50, is you hear all the time about the Fed having a dual mandate, stable prices, full employment. I believe that has always been a crock of shit ever since I got my econ degree 30 plus years ago. If you're a parent, you know you can't have two equals. There's always one slightly more than the other. And I believe the current Fed administration will choose labor over inflation. And if the labor market is as weak as it is and should be 4.9, maybe 5, they're going to be cutting and cutting big. And then lastly, why 50? I think if the Fed had correct data last meeting, they would have cut in July and then cut in September. So what will happen in September? They'll do a makeup cut. They'll make up for the mistake, and then they'll give you September. So that's kind of why I think 50 coming. That's why I changed my opinion. And right now I can tell you, Bo, I am a man on an island. What's called the Fed Watch tool says 0% chance of 50. But again, like always, I'm not changing my opinion. I had this opinion that first Saturday after the meeting. I talked about it on my channel on Sunday, and I'm going to stick to it. So that's why I changed, and I changed that drastically.
So when the jobs report came out, right, it was really low. There was like only like, was it, I might be mistaken, there was only 75,000 jobs created.
For the month of July. For the
month of July. And what is a normal job creation in a month?
So again, if you go back to historically, it's about 115 to 125 is kind of historical. But here's the problem. They adjusted the previous months, which were both over 150, to I think 14 and like 37. So they whacked 250,000 jobs from which just tells you that 75 number, which, you know, the 75 number by itself, not particularly horrible. Not great, but not horrible. But if you just come off 2 months where there are 6-figure revisions, why should you have any faith in the 75? The 75 could be negative 37 for all we know.
So for August, there's a new person that's going to be doing the kind of the statistics, right? Like, I mean, how do we actually get factual data, I guess is the question. Who do we believe?
Well, so, you know, the long story of this is the government has been relying on what's called survey data. And survey data worked for a long time. However, we live in a technology age. We live in an age of AI. We live in an age of the internet. And the fact that they are still mailing surveys and waiting for the responses is asinine. And frankly, why somebody should have been fired. The fact that I can't reply to a survey on my phone is crazy. They know who these people are. They're paying taxes. So why don't they just send them a text every month with a survey monkey or whatever, you know, you want it to be, and answer the questions? Why do I have to mail it to you? Hope you open your mail, respond, put it back in the mailbox, and then I get the data 3 weeks later. That is asinine, and you should fire somebody for not updating the system. So the answer why it's so bad is because it's a failed methodology.
So with all this data, what does that lead us to the, you know, to the new year, right? We got a couple more months. I mean, this is my dummy down version. Is it looks like prices are slightly dropping across the board on real estate, single family. Because I look at the real estate, I see, you know, it looks like it's down 1%, 1.5% in most markets. Mm-hmm. So is that trend going to continue?
It's going to be interesting, and I don't know that it will. I think the bigger question, especially for you in small business, is I think what we're going to run into, especially with the big beautiful bill and the you know the changes in legislation, incentives, it's going to be the time for more and more people to start businesses, buy franchises, do vending. people just need to have a plan B. Again, I think what we're suffering through right now is a job market that is much weaker than the headline numbers. I know there's lots of people out there that are exhausting their unemployment, which is 26 weeks. Can you imagine being unemployed 26 weeks, probably doing 100 interviews and getting nothing, and then you're kicked off unemployment? That's really happening now to people. So, to the 95% of us that are still employed, I would tell you to seriously consider plan Bs, right? Do you get a vending machine? Do you find a way to do that? Do you, are you in the real estate game? Like if you're in the real estate game, like let's say you're a real estate broker and you've been sucking wind for a couple of years because transactions are down. You got to diversify your income. Go buy a painting franchise. Go get, AC or, something. I think it's about building a moat around your business. And the thing that I would tell most people to think about is your personal finances, right? I know there's lots of talk about government debt and all of these things, but stop it. Most of you just need to worry about your personal balance sheet, your personal income statement, your personal risk profile. And I think you're in a great position. I think there will be more small businesses started, more franchises purchased as the economy slows down. And that's what I think is coming for you is a lot more business, at least a lot more inquiries. As people go, I'm not sure I'm going to have a job in a year. I don't know if AI is going to replace me or not. And, I think more and more people are going to really want to come in and go, what's right for me? And that's why you have the Zoracle and all these other things that you can help people with. So I think people need to build moats and be a lot more protected than they are today.
Well, I can tell you firsthand experience. I am busier than I've ever been. It continues to trend
Makes
upward.
sense.
Every bank I deal with on the SBA world, they're all super busy. They're all lacking. They all need to hire more underwriters. So SBA government guaranteed lending is booming, which
Makes
means.
sense.
And I was just reading an article on Franchise Insights. Basically, it said that like there's a bunch of business owners that are buying franchises right now. Like 47% existing business owners buying more business, which is very interesting. So
Makes perfect sense. They're getting leverage, right? If I lived in Fresno where our portfolio was, I would be adding a painting business, an AC business, because I would have some lead flow from what I have, and then it would grow from there. I would use that building that I called the hub. It would be like the mecca for one. It makes total sense why, if you're in the business already, why you should be adding a second or third stream just for positive leverage.
That's why for real estate investors, another business I show them often is dumpster businesses, because you're getting inside. They need junk removal dumpsters. You're already getting into meeting contractors. You're going to hoarder houses. There's people that are running dumpster businesses just to get leads to buy, distressed real estate. And I think that's
for sure.
When we talk about being vertically integrated and creating multiple revenue streams, I think a dumpster business makes sense. The other reason I like dumpsters is because it's all equipment, right? You're buying those trailers. It's all bonus depreciation, Section 179. So that's another really good thing for a real estate professional. And even like real estate agents, they're like, there's a lot of them are sucking wind right now. How cool would it be to be vertically integrated, owning a painting company, a staging company, where you're not just relying on closing. You're only as good as your last deal. You never want to be in that position. I was in that position pretty much my whole life, and I had great months, and I was like, yeah, I'm crushing it. And then it's like, well, you don't have that recurring revenue stream. Your money just goes, and you're never going to get ahead. You really need to create streams of income. 16, 17, could be 5 rental properties, could be this, could be that. But that's really the focus, I think, of people out there, because I see people's financials all the time. And I can tell you the loans I'm doing right now, a lot of them are low liquidity, and they're looking to buy a franchise, and it's a little bit more challenging. They want 90% financing. They don't have a lot of post-close liquidity. You're making 200 grand a year. Where does the money go? And they have 15 grand on their checking account, and they got to borrow 50 grand from their 401k. That's how we're doing in some of them. So it's kind of scary. And I would see those people actually need to buy a business more than anybody else, because if you don't have 15 or 20 grand in your account, you don't have much to lose. You have everything to freaking gain. So especially if you're in your 50s or 60s, yeah, you need to be doing something, because how the heck are you ever going to retire? That's what really scares me. That's what drives me too, because I'm like, I don't want to see people struggle all their life. They make money all the time, and it's just they don't have a pot to pee in, and that's not the way you want to live. So that's why we're here every week, just
couldn't agree more.
Trying to get better.
There you go. Bo, you're amazing. Thank you for kind of watching the channel, kind of calling me out. I'm glad we had the discussion. I don't know that I've had a chance to kind of lay it out there so cleanly. If somebody wanted to get started with you, just get 15 minutes to see what's what do they do?
Just go to onerentalmeeting.com. It's as simple as that. I bought a URL for you guys. I do own 150 other URLs, but I bought this one.
This is the most important.
Yeah, I flip. I'll tell you what, I was a good house flipper back in the day. I actually wasn't that good of a house flipper. I did okay, but the best ROI I ever got was flipping a domain name. I owned the domain burrloans.com, and somebody bought it for me for like $4,500 that I paid $15 for. So
nice.
That's my best flip ever.
There you go. onerentalmeeting.com. Go get the Zoracle. Figure out what's right for you. Bo, you're amazing. Thanks for coming back each week. And I'm not shocked that you are so busy. It makes perfect sense. Later.
Yeah.